Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Left My Heart at the Masjid podcast, live broadcast. Today we are joined by Chef Misbah, as well as Imam Muhammad, and Imam AbuTaleb is also joining us. We're following social distancing regulations, and he is right here with us as well. Say assalamu alaikum, Imam Muhammad. Imam AbuTaleb. So today we have a very interesting program and a very exciting program. We're following the general Friday night khatira series and the Quran recitation series that Sheikh Misbah leads. And today we'll be focusing on the importance of steadfastness in this time of need and this time of hardship, especially. So tonight's program will focus on Quran recitation of Surah Ibrahim, verses 23 to 27. We will have a short tafsir and translation of that, as well as learn a new dua, inshallah. Hope everyone's excited to get started.
Inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأدخل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها بإذن ربهم تحيتهم فيها سلام ألم تروا كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون ومثل كلمة خبيثة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء صدق الله العظيم.
Alhamdulillah. So now Imam AbuTaleb will be giving the translation as well as the tafsir of this beautiful Quran. Imam AbuTaleb, 1 second. 1 second. We just need to adjust something here real quick. Technology, it's great. I like it. Everyone at home here, Imam AbuTaleb now?
Yeah, we can.
Maybe people at home see if they can hear.
Mhm.
Anyone in the comments, let us know if you can hear Imam AbuTaleb.
Any luck now? Is it working?
Can you try to tell me if everything
There is only one watching.
Imam AbuTaleb, did you say something again?
Is it working now?
Okay, I think we're good to go now. My apologies for that. This is a new system we're trying here.
How are we doing it? Working now?
It's working now. Okay, sorry. Please continue.
Okay, can you hear me now, inshallah? Can I get a thumbs up? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Thanks for your patience. We're all getting used to this new normal. At least one thing follows us from our technical difficulties, alhamdulillah. But I know so many of you are overcome with the test of adjusting to this new way of life, adjusting to the habits that we have gotten into, alhamdulillah, and that we're trying to get used to. One of the ways, inshallah, we want to continue to connect is by having these virtual spaces and by continuing our habit of recitation of the Quran, of connecting, of discussion, of bringing our children together, of bringing our families together, of honoring our elders, and not letting these new ways that we are tested with for a time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, to stop us from continuing this within the restrictions that we have. And this is actually a specific reflection I want to take on the passage today. I encourage you to open your Mus'haf or your favorite translation or your Quran app to Surah Ibrahim, Surah number 14, verse number 23, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what can be translated as, but those who believed and did good deeds will be brought into gardens graced with flowing streams, there to remain with their Lord's permission. Their greeting there is peace. Looking at this ayah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of our ultimate objective and where we are all going. As the Sahaba would face trials and tribulations, as the Prophets would be tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Despite the circumstance, they would always seek that whatever Allah tested them with ease or hardship, would be a means, inshallah, of drawing closer to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, of finding spiritual resilience, of extracting lessons. And one of the lessons that we are deriving from this incredible test is how fleeting this life is, and how focused we need to be on the Quranic objective of attaining success, true success in this life and the hereafter. So many times the Quran Kareem talks about this, talks about the lens through which we should see al-hayat al-dunya, the life of this world. And here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that their greeting shall be salam, the ulama mention that one of the meanings of this is that they will greet each other with peace. But also that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will honor them with this greeting and with this bestowing of peace. And in Arabic, the word for peace, salam, is actually connected to the word of safety, salama. And one of the ways the believer brings the beauty of his or her character to those around them is by creating safety, by creating safe spaces, by creating an environment full of their good deeds, full of their soft words, full of their brilliant character and radiant character. So really, as we are tested with times where we are experiencing fear, we're experiencing anxiety, we're experiencing uncertainty, we're reminded of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been so generous with us. And remember, as we talked about yesterday, the many blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows on us, but perhaps we have forgotten at times to be thankful. One of the ways that Al-Jannah, heaven, is referred to in the Quran al-Kareem is Darul Khuld, the everlasting abode. And this is because people have true everlasting peace and security. They have no fear of death. They have no fear of loss. And really in this moment we connect with what a gift and what a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is. In ayah number 24, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Prophet, do you not see how God makes comparison? A good word is like a good tree, whose root is firm and whose branches are high in the sky. Next ayah, yielding constant fruit by its Lord's leave. God makes such comparisons for people so that they may reflect. Looking at this ayah, interestingly, there's a beautiful narration about one of the great scholars of the Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Umar, radiallahu anhuma. He was the son of Umar ibn Khattab. He was a pretty young man when the Prophet ﷺ was alive, and he absorbed so much of just the blessings of the Prophet ﷺ's presence, learned so much despite his young age, and would go on to be one of the greatest scholars of this ummah. Once the Prophet ﷺ, is narrated, was sitting among the Sahaba, and he asked, do you know which tree is being referred to here? And Abdullah ibn Umar felt he knew that it was the date tree. But he was shy to speak, especially since he was one of the youngest. And when the Prophet ﷺ indicated that it was the date palm, Abdullah ibn Umar was happy that he had kind of gotten the answer in his mind when many of the other Sahaba were unsure. The example here of a tree gives us a lot of depth. But one of them is that when you look at a tree, actually most of what is holding down a strong, powerful, sound, tall tree does not meet the eye. It is the roots that are deep into the ground. It is through these roots that the nutrients are sucked up into it, that water comes and benefits the tree, that it gets the ingredients for growth, and that ultimately its branches, those good things that are coming from it, reach up even until they reach up into the sky. It's important when we look at that tree. So many of us are caught by what meets the eye. It is tall, it is overwhelming, but we don't remember that this tree was once a sapling, just a tiny little thing, and before that it was a seed. And to see all of the nurturing, all of the development until it yields fruit. And here in the ayah, it says it yields constant fruit, that even as it matures, the example here is that the fruit does not ripen in a season and go on from another season, but it is constantly providing benefit, fruits, shade, all around. The ulama mentioned that in the tafsir, that one of the meanings of the word here is kalimat la ilaha illallah, that the true belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it takes root in the heart, then the branches of al-a'mal al-salihah, the good deeds, of the good words, of the benefits, continue to constantly produce all around that person. This takes hard work. This takes time. And yet, also, I want to reflect on something actually in this ayah that I never noticed before. I want to reflect on it with you today. I don't know if any of you have ever seen a date palm. Perhaps you've been blessed to visit in Medina. Here in the United States, most of them are in California, in a kind of desert environment. And if you've ever seen somebody climb up to actually take the dates, overseas they often climb up, it's an incredible skill because it's very high. In California, actually a lot of the farms, they put these ladders on them because they are so high. But there's something also that we need to notice about trees. Even when you see the trees filling a forest, even when you see an incredible meadow or pasture, each tree has its individual strength on its own before those fruits and that company is shared with others. One of the beautiful things about our deen is the sharing good company. It's being with the believers. It's the social connections that are being strained right now in ways that we are not used to, because we're navigating these relationships without a lot of the physical proximity, without the ability to congregate, without so many things that we have taken for granted, but really were incredible tawfiq and blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But our relationships need to remain strong. Our drive for our hearts to spring forth the fruits of our iman has to continue. Even if the ways that we were doing yesterday, the means we were doing yesterday, some of them are not possible. This is going to challenge us. This is going to be uncharted territory. I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us have all the answers, but together our community can begin to help itself and heal itself and support one another. But here's the thing. Many of us are finding this in maybe a dimension that we haven't explored much earlier. And that is the dimension of isolation. I don't mean it exclusively. I don't mean that anybody should feel alone day and night, but because we're not able to go out as much, because our social lives are changing, while we remain connected, we are also having to find our iman in more quiet and more isolated time than we're used to. It's very different from how most of us experience our lives. When you go back to Al-Quran al-Karim and you see that example of a tree that in isolation, as an individual unit, it's strong, is itself taking its individual ability to pull up those nutrients, to grow, to provide shade, to provide fruits. It wouldn't be able to do that if it didn't have individual strength before it sought communal strength and strength in others. You come back to Al-Quran al-Karim and you see the moment of isolation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested some of the righteous men and women of our tradition with, and perhaps we hadn't noticed them before. Here is the great Maryam alayhi salam. And notice she is isolated because she is a woman for a time. And yet she, in that period where she has that isolation, she doesn't have someone to lean on emotion, has the support that any woman in that situation would come to expect and hope for. The way that her faith drives her to such height and such excellence and such ihsan, reflect on that. Prophet Yusuf, when he is cast into the well, alone, young, no answers, no idea how to get out. In fact, it would seem waiting for certain death were it not for the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how in years of isolation with his family, instead of complaining or being frustrated about the circumstance, he had such incredible growth. Our Prophet ﷺ was incredibly socially connected to people, but he went through a time where he was reflecting, contemplating in the cave of Hira. He did not have the ibadat revealed at that time that would come through him later to us, but he was reflecting in isolation on the state of things, on how these idols could not be worthy of worship, on the social oppression that was occurring in Mecca and Mukarramah, and on so many other things. We continue to look at Musa alayhi salam cast out from his people. At the Sahaba, men and women were cast out, economically boycotted from marriage, socially cut off from their own families, from Shab and Talib, and yet became the leaders of the entire world and the reformers of the entire earth. And here on the day of Friday, so many of us have recited Surah Al-Kahf, where we are reminded of a group of young people. Allah changed for them the very norm of the world for the honor of their stance for Iman and justice. But remember that this stance had a long period also of isolation, of courage, of strength. I hope that in our discussion, in our encouragement, in our support of one another, inshallah, we can continue to discuss that with this time, instead of growing apart, instead of feeling alone, how these moments of quiet, these moments of reflection can be an opportunity for us as a community to help each other to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to see this dunya in its proper lens. My brothers and sisters, from the truly strange and humbling and overwhelming dimensions of this particular disease, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save us from its harm and to lift it from us and to save all of humanity, Ya Rabb, and He is all able to do all things. Allahumma ameen. This cause, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of any causes. It's so small that it cannot be seen by the eye even if it's in front of it. It is so weak that among the best means of prevention is to simply run water and a squirt of soap that doesn't cost a penny for 20 seconds, and it literally tears the protein, the fat layer of the virus apart. It decimates it. Or you put a piece of clothing in the laundry room and it is destroyed. And yet this tiny virus has stopped humanity in its tracks, and its power, its leaders, its military, its trillions. You see how we are struggling to stop it. This is a reminder of the reality of this dunya. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. The human being was indeed created weak. The next ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what can be translated as, but an evil word is like a rotten tree, uprooted from the surface of the earth with no power to endure. God will give firmness to those who believe in the firmly rooted word, both in this world and the hereafter, but the evildoers He leaves to stray, and God does whatever He will. In this example, and some of the ulama have also mentioned a particular type of tree that may be indicated here, but we see in the general description of a tree that is not rooted deeply in the world. It's actually uprooted, so it's very, very easily toppled over. It is fragile, it is weak, and it's rotten. It does not bring, it neither brings power to endure, nor does it bring benefit to those around us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us that the likeness of this tree is the likeness of those who strayed from an iman, who strayed from this rooting in believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jal promises, and this is what we are seeking tonight, to learn. Inshallah, we're learning a dua and learning together how to seek this steadfastness together. Allah promises that He will give firmness and steadfastness to those who believe in this, who root themselves in this iman, who orient their lives, struggle to draw closer to that ilaha illallah with all of its consequences, meaning that I try to be a better family member, that I try to be timely in my prayers, that I try to be proper in my speech, that I try to be, at the highest level of standards in my business dealings, and that I try also when I speak, as we take from the meaning of the ayat, that I always try to speak a good word. The Prophet ﷺ says, in part of the hadith, whomever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak what is good or remain silent. So I would encourage you, inshallah, from the application of these beautiful ayat that we've had recited to us today, is to find a kind word that you can speak to others, inshallah, in this time of uncertainty. Take an extra moment and express your love and appreciation for the blessing of your family or your roommate or your friends around you. Think about someone on your contact list, or maybe an elder who might be, now feeling isolated, feeling alone now, and take the moment, call on them, check on them. It might be something as simple as asking if they need help with a grocery delivery, or just someone to talk to on the phone. Just check on people and let them know that they're not alone in this time. Find the way, inshallah, to find your voice, despite the difference of circumstance, inshallah, and share a good word that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may grant us firm rooting, inshallah, and branches and fruits that spread the beauty of an iman to those all around us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for steadfastness and firmness, inshallah. And I turn it back over so we can learn a dua from the Prophet that helps us seek this, inshallah.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. So inshallah ta'ala, following with what Imam AbuTaleb just shared with us, as you all know, the power of dua, despite all the challenges that we go through in all our religious affairs, subhanallah, Islam came to balance things. Allah wanted us to always relate spiritually, and that's the most important thing, of course, and to submit to Him and to link everything back to Him. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, our future, our affairs, our sickness, our well health, everything goes back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to balance that. That does not contradict in any way with us balancing the fact that we are linking the hereafter with this current life that we are in. And that's why the balance has to be with our own physical affairs and taking every possible measure to protect ourselves and our soul, and also spiritually from a religiosity point of view of connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where the great balance is. So tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we want to go together, inshallah, to learn a small dua, a small remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love and always connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by using this dua in his salah and sometimes out of his salah. And this dua was reported by one of the companions that have been, inshallah ta'ala, when you have time, you can always look up his biography and the great things that he came to offer. And that is, inshallah ta'ala, the Sahabi is Shaddad ibn Aus, and he reported this hadith. So we're going to go together, inshallah ta'ala, with it. So we're going to go slowly, inshallah. I will go slowly with the Arabic part and explain the English meaning of it, and then we'll try, inshallah, to learn it together. And inshallah, Kashif will post that hadith for you so you can later on try your best to memorize it. But tonight you will walk through it with me so you pronounce it the proper way, inshallah. So the hadith goes and the dhikr goes as follows. We say, Allahumma inni as'aluka thabata fil amr. Allahumma inni as'aluka thabata fil amr. O Allah, I ask you for steadfastness in all my affairs. O Allah, I ask you for the steadfastness in all my affairs. You know, this is something very beautiful that reflects what Islam is all about. Islam is your way of life. That's just the simple, most comprehensive way of defining Islam. This is how you define Islam. It is your way of life. So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala steadfastness on this path. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you steadfastness in all your affairs, regardless of what it is, whether you're going through challenges in the good times and in the bad times and in the challenging times and in the trying times. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for steadfastness. That explains that no matter what the fluctuation and the ups and downs in life, the heart is settled and you're always comfortable and content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bringing your ways. This is what a believer heart is, and that's why we look at others and see how they go through anxieties, through fear, through uncertainty, through ups and downs in their lives. Is just because they're missing out on this steadfastness, because they simply do not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. They just don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for steadfastness in all their affairs. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-thabata fil amr wal-azima fil rushd wal-azima ala al-rushd. Now al-azima ala al-rushd means that you are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the determination to be on the right path. So you know how it is when we say that you are determined. When you are determined to do something, when you are determined to believe in something, when you are determined to accomplish something, when you are determined to overall be content with something, when we use the word determined and that you are determined, it means that you are focused and you have no doubts and you are going along with that thing with clear vision. And that what makes you accomplish things is because everything is clear for you, and that's why you're determined, and that makes your life easier. It makes your focus easy. Makes you focus more, and you definitely reach to your goal way faster because you are determined. Wal-azima ala rushd, determination to be on the right path, inshallah. وأسألك شكر نعمتك وأسألك شكر نعمتك. And O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask you that I am always grateful, thankful for all the blessings that you have blessed me with. You know, it is so beautiful to see when we actually reflect on the blessings and bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we are through trying times and now we appreciate the good days. Now we come to realize that we took a lot of things for granted, as simple as our prayers, as simple as going to the masjid, as simple as having, you know, a strong immunity system, as simple as not washing your hands 50 times a day, and not worrying about, you know, and panicking and having paranoia of everything that you're touching. I have to go ahead and wash my hands. You know, we took all this for granted. We had no issues of physical touching, shaking hands, hugging, and what have you. And now we are running away from each other. We're giving air hugs, air shakes, and everything just because of this issue that we were prevented with. Even though we took all these things for granted, we took our health for granted, we took the normal style of life for granted. So This is how you become grateful. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this hadith would love for us to actually be thankful in the good days. Not only when we're going through trying times, and we have now a big difference between trying times and the good times, and now we appreciate the good times. Of course, still that's a great thing to always go back and appreciate what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with. But Allah loves for a believer to always appreciate his blessings and ni'mah, even during the good times. So whenever you're going through good times, Allah appreciates for the fact that we're always thankful. So we're not spoiled, we're not complainers, we're not always wanting more, but rather always content and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَسْأَلُكَ شُكْرَ نِعْمَتِكَ وَحُسْنَ عِبَادَتِكَ. And I ask you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the best of ibadah, the best form of ibadah. This is where we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a perfect way. When you connect with your heart and mind, that's how your ibadah, your salah, your dhikr, your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reflect best results. And this is what we always strive for, to elevate ourselves, to feel the sweetness of our worship that we have toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَسْأَلُكَ قَلْبًا سَلِيمًا. O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask you for a sound heart. A sound heart means it's that heart that always brings that compassion and that love along with the intellect that we have. So it's not just I submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because that what my mind tells me, but actually is what my mind and heart tells me, and that passion comes along with that intellect to give that balance and give you the beauty and sweetness of worship. وَلِسَانًا صَادِقًا وَلِسَانًا صَادِقًا. And O Allah, I ask you for a truthful tongue. Being truthful is so beautiful that those who have learned to always be truthful, they don't have any problem in their life. Sometimes they might be bold, but they don't have any problems. They don't apologize to people because in general, they don't have to apologize because they don't do things like some of us or some other people do, is that we try to please everybody. So we end up with our tongues, trying to compromise this truthfulness by saying something in front of someone and saying something else behind his or her back. And then that thing leaks and it goes out to these people. And then you have to apologize and you say, no, this is not exactly what I meant. And when someone comes to check with you, did you actually say this? Well, I did say, but it wasn't, that way. And now all we're doing, we're making up for a mistake that our tongue have said or have, pronounced or uttered. And that is all because the fact that we did not learn to be straightforward, to be truthful, and to say always what's on our minds and hearts. And that does not mean that we have to be rude. You can always be gentle and you can always be firm, but without being impolite. So you're being firm. And if anyone would come back and check with you and tell you, did you actually say this? And you say, yes, I did. And you don't have to be apologetic about it because you never exceeded the boundaries. You've never transgressed against somebody, but you said the truth. And this makes a believer so proud and so firm on his path, is that you don't have to always come back and fix what you have said or try to make up of what you have said. And this is actually advice from our beloved Prophet ﷺ, where he said, try your best to not say something that you will have to apologize for it the next day. Yani that's where sometimes we lose our temper, we say things, we abuse people verbally, we sometimes transgress against some people, we sometimes exaggerate and say something that we're not sure of, we sometimes transmit and send information that we were not sure of that might accuse people of something or accuse others wrongfully. And then we have to be apologetic about it. We have to apologize. We have to go back and say, I'm sorry. I said that, but it wasn't really, I did not check, and my sources were wrong. And we have to do a lot of makeup for these mistakes that we have done. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us actually to be straightforward from the beginning. So it reduces the many times that you have to go back and make up for the mistakes of the tongue. وَأَسْأَلُكَ مِنْ خَيْرِ مَا تَعْلَمُ. And this is one of the beautiful things that you are asking Allah. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I ask you for the best of what you know. Look at this beautiful part of this dua. You're asking Allah, the all-knowing, to give you, oh Allah, I ask you for the best of what you know. And this is of course infinite, unlimited. That's Allah, the all-knowing. So you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something that you yourself have no idea of how it ends, because it doesn't end. It's infinite, because that's the knowledge of Allah. That's why we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all-knowing. وَأَسْأَلُكَ مِنْ خَيْرِ مَا تَعْلَمُ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا تَعْلَمُ. And I seek refuge in you from the worst of what you know. I seek refuge in you from the worst of what you know. Look at this beautiful. Instead of you spending all night long, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I seek refuge in you from the whispering of shaitan, from the wrongdoing of humanities, from the unknown, uncertain things that might come my way. I seek refuge in you from the worst of what could come from those people that might hurt me, or might hurt my family, or might hurt my children, or might hurt my property. And you can go for hours and hours and days and weeks, and you can never finish of those unlimited things that might come to your mind, seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the worst of these things. But rather, Allah is teaching us a very general dua that actually is so comprehensive that it covers everything. So you say, I seek refuge in you from the worst of what you know. And then you say, وَأَسْتَغْفِرُكَ لِمَا تَعْلَمُ وَأَسْتَغْفِرُكَ لِمَا تَعْلَمُ. And I seek forgiveness. I seek forgiveness for what you know. So, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually not only to forgive you of the things that you yourself know that they're wrong, but you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that, which is things that you as a human being know that you have done something wrong. So you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for that wrong thing. But you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also to forgive you for things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows of you that you yourself don't know. So we do mistakes. Some of the mistakes that we do, we know it, and we know that it's wrong. And we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for these mistakes. But ironically, we do mistakes, they are so subtle that we ourselves don't know that we have done mistakes. So we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for things that we know and things that we don't even know, but He does know it. And that's why we're asking Him with His knowledge to forgive us from those things that we do not know. So inshallah ta'ala, just to give ourselves last inshallah ta'ala way of pronunciation for that, and then you can inshallah take your time to memorize this hadith. We're going to say it in Arabic together. So we say Bismillah, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-thabata fil amr wal-azima ala al-rushd wa as'aluka shukra ni'matik wa husna ibadatik wa as'aluka qalban salima wa lisanan sadiqa وأسألك من خير ما تعلم وأعوذ بك من شر ما تعلم وأستغفرك لما تعلم. And that inshallah ta'ala should end this beautiful dhikr that you can use in your salah or outside of your salah. and have it part of the protection that you always use to protect yourself and your family, inshallah ta'ala. جزاكم الله خير بارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We apologize for all the technical difficulties tonight. It looks like we have a couple more minutes before we have to wrap up for Isha. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for the Imams tonight? Sheikh Misbah, I think you're restarting the Quran class that you used to teach. Could you tell us a little about the formatting that you're going to use for that? Or tell us about the Quran class?
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, we've been already doing Quran class in IER. We host this for brothers on Wednesdays, and we, of course, this is before the coronavirus, and Alhamdulillah, we have 2 days a week, 1 day for the brothers and 1 day for the sisters, Wednesdays and Mondays for the sisters. So inshallah we'll continue with this matter, inshallah, with this Quran class. We seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I would like to continue with the brothers who used to come to the halaqah, and the sisters also as well. So inshallah we'll continue with online classes. For those who will register, inshallah, I would like them to keep in touch with me and with Brother Kashif and the administration, inshallah ta'ala, to follow up with this Quran class online. We'll try, inshallah, to update them on the technical and the platform that we're going to use, inshallah, sort of like the Zoom or Google Meet and stuff like that, inshallah ta'ala.
Would you mind telling us the name of that surah and easy reference? The name of the dua and easy reference for the time?
Sure. So I think the best way, and this is a good reference for all of you, if you go to sunnah.com, this is a beautiful website that actually gives you a good reference on the most important 6 books of hadith, like 6 collections, that is, of Sahih al-Imam al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Imam Muslim and Sahih Ibn Majah and Sahih al-Nasa'i and Sahih Abi Dawood and Sahih al-Tirmidhi. All these are like the most popular 6 books of collection of hadith that you would find most of the importance of the saying of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. This website does have these hadith and it's translated in English, and it also gives you the grade and the reference of the hadith. Some of these hadith are absolutely authentic, some of them are in good chain, and some of them are enough to reach to, but they will tell you that enough to reach to a level of Hasan, which is a good hadith, an okay hadith. If it's a da'if hadith, like it's not authentic, it will actually specify that for you. So it's a great reference, it's a great website that you use in your research, inshallah.
Any other recommendations or suggestions, ways that you guys are keeping your faith and iman high, or keeping yourself sane during this time of much hardship? Today was the last day we had Fajr at Islamic Reminders in Raleigh. It was very tough. Can you share a couple words, each Imam Muhammad and Sheikh Badawi, about what it felt like to pray the last Fajr in the Masjid, just for a couple minutes? Unfortunately, I'm still figuring out the audio systems. Okay. So tomorrow Imam AbuTaleb will join us for a full-on talk show. Okay. And for everyone that's joining at home, the permanent link to access this live stream will be raleighmasjid.org/live. And we'll post the most recent episode there, and that's a great resource. Or if you have a YouTube account, you can click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and that will alert you when we go live every day. And now, Sheikh Badawi, would you mind sharing yours?
Back into your point, asking about lost prayer or facing difficulties in this time of temptation. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for all of us. And what's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided for all of us is all khair. And this is our belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qada Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is an amazing hadith that we should reflect upon. عجبا لأمر المؤمن في أمره في كل أمره خير. يعني it's amazed how the situation of the believers إذا أصابته مصيبة فصبر فذلك خير له وإذا أصابته نعمة فشكر فذلك خير له. When the believers afflict with a calamity or a temptation and they have a patience, it's a good for them. They will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if they afflicted with goodness and khair and stuff with blessings, and be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Imam Muhammad was sharing, how to show thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is something is really, our religion, our Islam is amazing, that let us go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and showing gratitude and showing favor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and show how our humiliation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be kind to ourselves and serve humanity and kindness and love and patience. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always to make these difficulties easier upon all of us, and to wipe our sins and our mistakes, and to forgive our sins. Allahumma ameen. Stay connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beg to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and every single day you try your best to learn beautiful dua. As we shared today, we shared a beautiful dua has a significant meaning, and there is a lots of khair, and there is a lots of dua, adhkar sabah, adhkar al-masa. Wallahi, if you always say them and you practice them in your daily life, this is sufficient for you. This is sufficient for you and for your family, for your relatives. When you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will feel the tranquility that you proceed or introduce something for your hereafter. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us and to forgive our sins.
You know, I want to say something, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Badawi. I want to say something that I have experienced myself. So I hope that inshallah ta'ala you share it with me when you actually experience it. You know, the best thing during these trying times is truly to appreciate the opposite of the frustration that we go through. I'll give you an example that I personally, used to have. So as you know, when you have a busy schedule in life, you're always on the run, you're always rushing. This is, alhamdulillah, it's beautiful that at least we are busy with many good things in life. But the drawback, of course, is that you're always rushing, you're always, on the run that you want to catch, you're always catching up. So as I drive all the time, I get really frustrated as I want to be on time and committed to the appointments that I have. All of a sudden the traffic light turns red. The very first impression comes to my mind is, of course, it has to stop me. This is like the difficult moment. To get out of this frustration, really, like we're going through these trying times, is not to look at the 3 times that you were caught by that red light that made you frustrated. What actually you need to look and to reflect upon is the 100th time throughout the week that you actually had a green light and you did not stop, and you were allowed an easy path, and you crossed that traffic light without saying Alhamdulillah that it's actually green. Alhamdulillah that I did not stop. You don't even appreciate the fact that it was green light and you were not really stopped. But we only find frustration when we are stopped from what we are used to. So when it's green light, you're just minding your own business, talking on the phone, not even thinking to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the fact that the way was easy for you. You were not stopped. You actually reached to your destination on time, and you were all good. But the second out of the 100 times that I was allowed to go, and to pass through that green light, I was not appreciative. But the only one time throughout the week that the traffic light caught me and turned red in my face and I got frustrated, this is what I actually say, of course. Why do I have to always get caught by red lights? Of course, this is a simple example that I bring you that actually go through my life when I always realize that I need to complain when I get stopped because I am on the run, because I'm rushing. But I don't realize the other 99 times throughout the week where it was green and I passed through it and I never said, Alhamdulillah. I never said, of course, it has to happen to me, because I took it for granted. So this is my advice, is that every time we go through trying times, frustration, don't look at this 1-2 times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought it your way to test you, but look at the 10 other times that you were granted easiness and you were granted open path, and we never said Alhamdulillah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our tongues always grateful of His bounties and blessings, and to make us always reflect the goodness of our life, and to make us always say Alhamdulillah for the many other times that we get it by default and we forget to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair.
Let's see if we can swing to Imam AbuTaleb. We will swing to Imam AbuTaleb tomorrow, inshallah.
Inshallah.
As usual, tune into this broadcast. Let me hop into the shot here. As usual, tune into this broadcast on raleighmasjid.org/live, not .com. I'm still figuring this whole system out with you guys. And inshallah, we'll also be having the very popular Saturday class. Will be resuming tomorrow. And that will be available at 9 a.m. More details will be available in the Google Classroom to follow. And if you are watching this on YouTube or on raleighmasjid.org, make sure to subscribe to the Islamic Association of Raleigh on YouTube and hit the notification bell to join us tomorrow, inshallah. Now I'm going to swing to Imam AbuTaleb to close us out.
Allah